and exploitation and attacks on not just our immigrant community, but on the entire Hispanic community. So we have a list of elected officials, nonprofit leaders, faith leaders that have joined us here today. We'll all be making some brief remarks. I do want to thank the president of the NAACP Milwaukee branch. Clarence is here for joining us today in solidarity. Thank you very much, Clarence. Can we give Clarence a round of applause, right? Thank you. Yeah, our good friends from the Milwaukee Christian Center, too. Thank you for coming out. Karen, where are you? Thank you so much. Ramona from the Latino Jewish Alliance, thank you. And I wish I could list off all the emails and texts I've been getting of people who wish they could make it, because this was really put together last minute after we saw the urgent need. But to start us off this morning, I'm going to turn it over to a fierce advocate and defender of human dignity. We worked together not only on this issue, but on the issue of gun violence and many others. Please help me in welcoming Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom, Senior Minister for the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee.
Thank you, Darrell. Dear ones, will you pray with me? Holy One, dear God of many names and beyond all naming, join us this morning as we gather to honor and wrap your love and our care and commitment around all of your children. Holy One, you have been very clear with us about who deserves your love, and it is all of humanity, and we are here to do your good work. You said, for when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. And when I was a stranger, you invited me in. Truly, I say to you, whatever you did to one of these, you did for me. We come before you, holy servants, human beings prone to error, and we ask for your mercy that we might enact it. Holy One, open our hearts to all of humanity, to all of your beloved children, and to your word. May we each see the light of your face in one another. May we treat our fellow human beings with the love and compassion and tender mercy with which you treat us. May we remember that whatever we have done to any of our fellow human beings, we have done unto you. May it be so, and amen. Amen. The gospel is very clear about welcoming the stranger. Holy books of all types are very clear about the nature of humanity and us all being children of God. God knows us. God knows our hearts, each and every single one of us, and God calls to us through our hearts to live as God invites us, live in love and peace and connection and humility and mercy with one another. We are interdependent. It is inextricable and inescapable. We are bound up with one another, all of God's children. May we act like it today. Even if we've broken our vows 1,000 times, may this be the day, 1,001, that we do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with God. Amen.
Buenos dias. Welcome to City Hall, the People's House. I want to thank Darrell and Forward Latino for bringing us all together. And I've been thinking a lot about Dr. King with his Day of Honor being Monday. And in light of the recent political events and news, a quote came to mind, and it reads, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." Let me repeat that. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. I think that's a very appropriate quote given these days and times. In hope, those in the immigrant and undocumented community, be smart, prepare yourselves and your families. Have a plan. If you don't have a plan, create one as soon as possible. It's not too late. And that plan should consist of having emergency contacts, determining who could or should care for your children in case of emergency, and if you can't afford a lawyer, consider retaining one sooner than later. The situation warrants it. Or reach out to one of our partnering organizations standing side by side with me today for guidance and/or assistance. My message is simple. Stay hopeful, stay prayerful, and remember, we all have rights. Put the work in on the front end to protect those rights. I and my colleagues will be fighting to ensure that your rights are not only known, but they're protected. Y para mi comunidad hispana, quiero que sepa que el Concilio Común está aquí para ayudar, apoyar nuestra comunidad, asegurar que conozca sus derechos para la protección de nuestra comunidad. Gracias.
Thank you, President Perez. Good morning. I'm Alderperson Jocasta Samaripa, and I'm honored to represent Milwaukee's near South Side, which has been a home to immigrant families for generations. From the Polish and German immigrants who arrived in Milwaukee in the mid-1800s to the Latino, Asian, and African immigrants of today, we are the reason that Milwaukee has thrived, and we are the reason that Milwaukee will continue to thrive. As the first Latina and the first Mexican-American woman to walk the halls of this great building as an elected official, I believe it is paramount that we stand together as City of Milwaukee leaders and send a unified message to our constituents. To my immigrant communities residing in the City of Milwaukee, I stand with you during this time of great uncertainty. We stand with you. I am here at your service as one of your elected city leaders, and I want to encourage you to be and remain civically engaged. I have spoken at length with our Milwaukee Police Department chief and his team, and we want to encourage you to continue to feel confident to reach out to your first responders without fear of any collaboration with ICE. Please call 911 for any emergencies, and call 414-933-4444 for any non-emergencies. And also know that our emergency operators can access a language line to speak with you in your dominant language. Finally, I want to encourage everyone who lives here in the City of Milwaukee to come to City Hall. As the President said, it's your house. Right here on the first floor, we have our licensing division, and you can get yourself a municipal ID. It's an added layer of protection and confidence, in particular for those who may not have any other type of photo identification. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is State Representative Sylvia Ortiz-Velez, and I represent the 8th Assembly District. And I am here today on behalf of the good, hardworking people of my district and the state of Wisconsin. As a state, we must put Wisconsin first. When it comes to workforce development and increasing economic opportunities for working families, Wisconsin can't afford to sit on the sidelines. We have made investments, only to potentially lose the labor we so desperately need and have invested in. We have invested in education, in job training, and in many different fields, and in industries to undocumented workers and workers throughout our state. Wisconsin is now facing more than a 45,000 worker shortage. And by removing the people, many of whom pose no public threat, it will make it difficult for Wisconsin to deliver to the residents of our great state the resources that we need to feed our families. To produce dairy, meat products, and other agricultural commodities, we risk losing that hardworking labor that we need to keep Wisconsin family-owned businesses going. Undocumented immigrants pay $96.7 million per year in federal, state, and local taxes. They also pay into our Social Security system and are not eligible to receive a benefit. I want to thank Governor Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul for joining to uphold the 14th Amendment, which has long ensured that citizenship is not determined by lineage, wealth, or status, but by the promise of equality and opportunity for all. I believe in the promise of America. Even in these dark days and times, we will find the light and we will follow it at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Israel Ramon. I'm the Milwaukee County Register of Deeds. My office is responsible for the recording of all real property records in the county, as well as the issuance of all vital records on a statewide basis. Those include birth certificates, marriage certificates, divorce certificates, and death certificates. Every individual living in Wisconsin has a right to obtain their children's birth certificate or any other vital record that they are the subject of, that they have an immediate family member in, or they have a direct and tangible interest in. I encourage individuals to have copies of these important documents with them at all times. I also encourage individuals to make sure that they provide additional certificates to important people in their lives in the event that they have an emergency. Anyone that has questions about the purchasing or obtaining of property records for properties they may own or vital records can call my office at 414-278-4021. Anyone that speaks Spanish can call my office's Spanish hotline at 414-335-0723. That line will be answered by my staff who speak Spanish and are bilingual. If there are individuals that don't speak English and don't speak Spanish, they are welcome to call my office or come to my office, as we have a language line with over 100 languages that are available to the public. It is very, very important that people be prepared and know their rights, and I will tell you, as the first Mexican-American constitutional officer in our state's history, I am prepared to defend the law that I took an oath to defend and to administer, and I will do that as everyone that lives in this county, whether they have documented status or not, is welcome in my office. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Roberta Clark. I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. I'm so honored and proud to stand with these remarkable community leaders. And Reverend Nordstrom, your words really inspired me, and I really connected with them. Jewish religious and ethical tradition calls upon us to welcome the stranger. Leviticus commands, when strangers sojourn with you in your land, you shall not do them wrong. The strangers who sojourn with you shall be to you as the natives among you, and you shall love them as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. This principle permeates Jewish tradition and is reinforced through the American Jewish community's long history of support for generous and rational immigration laws and policies. That support is rooted in large measure by the experiences of Jews seeking asylum, refuge, and immigration over the course of centuries in an America that has at times closed its doors with tragic results due to anti-immigrant sentiments. Our history and the story of every community that makes up the patchwork of ethnicities in our diverse nation calls on us to provide an effective legal immigration system characterized by rule of law, national interests, and compassionate treatment. The Jewish Community Relations Council of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation supports compassionate immigration policies, including a systematic, fair path to citizenship for immigrants. Our JCRC takes advocacy positions on immigration policy with the goal of fashioning an immigration system that facilitates legal status and family unity in the interest of protecting the dignity and civil liberties of all people. We have different leaders up here, interfaith and otherwise, elected officials, community leaders. People of all faith traditions and no faith tradition have a responsibility to ensure every person is treated with dignity and respect, with justice, and with equity. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Ruiz Cantu, and I'm representing the faith community. And my remarks are going to be in Spanish. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Patricia Ruiz Cantú y estoy aquí representando a nuestra comunidad de fe. Voy a comenzar con un versículo de Filipenses 4:6 que nos dice: no se inquieten por nada, sino que en toda situación, mediante la oración y ruego con acción de gracia, presentarán sus peticiones a Dios. Este versículo nos recuerda la importancia de mantener la fe, incluso en tiempos de necesidad, en tiempos de miedo. En este momento de incertidumbre que enfrentamos, quiero decirles que debemos estar fuertes, que la vida nos puede presentar diferentes situaciones, pero en un momento que nosotros decidimos venir a este país para buscar el sueño americano y que lo hemos encontrado, nosotros debemos de estar trabajando juntos para mantenernos informados. En un mundo cambiante, el conocimiento es nuestro mejor aliado. Recuerden que el conocimiento es nuestro poder. Es importante que nosotros solamente escuchemos a personas confiables, a mensajeros confiables. Estos momentos tienden a ser momentos de noticias amarillistas, donde podemos entrar en pánico. Y cuando nosotros entramos en pánico, podemos hacer cosas que nos pueden afectar. Por eso hoy quiero invitarte a que tengas paciencia, a que tengas fe. Nada en este mundo pasa si no es la voluntad de Dios, pero nosotros tenemos que estar preparados. Esta mañana estás viendo personas que están aquí apoyándonos desde el condado. Aquí estamos ahorita en la Casa del Pueblo. City Hall es la Casa del Pueblo. Tengan la confianza suficiente que nosotros vamos a estar aquí para apoyarlos. No tengan miedo en hacer una llamada. Si ustedes están viendo un crimen, reporten. No van a tener ninguna repercusión sobre eso. Es muy importante. Juntos, en una fe, en una unidad, podemos lograr vencer estas adversidades. El día de hoy solo les pido que tengan paciencia y que se informen. Estando informados, podemos estar tranquilos. Gracias.
Hi, my name is Mark Thompson. I'm a lawyer here in Milwaukee. I've had the privilege and honor to work with Forward Latino for quite a few years now. But you know, on Monday, President Trump took an oath to the Constitution. I just want to remind folks what that said. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The 14th Amendment, it wasn't there at the beginning. It was only there after the Civil War. And it says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. I was born here in Blair, Nebraska. That's why I'm a citizen. What we know now about Donald Trump is that before he took that oath, he already had plans to sign an executive order rejecting this exact principle. He took an oath to follow this Constitution, and before he went to bed, he signed an executive order to say this is not true. This Constitution, a couple of years ago, said that women had the right to make the reproductive choices. This same Constitution today doesn't provide that. What did we learn from that? This Constitution is only as strong as the people who interpret it and the people who fight for it. We have a battle on our hands against people that want to wipe out our rights. Every lawyer, every lawyer that took an oath to this Constitution, every judge that took an oath to this Constitution, and I'm asking all my fellow citizens, this is the time today to say no to Donald Trump and the people that want to wipe out our rights. Thank you.
I want to thank Mark, as well as, I know they couldn't be here today, Craig Mastantano and Kane Houlihan. We truly have a first-rate legal team at Ford Latino. And they took the lead on making sure hate crime charges were brought against people who did some very, very inhumane things against others, mostly United States citizens who had prominent Hispanic features. So thank you for that. I want to call out Reverend Nordstrom and Pastor Patricia Reese and Roberta for your remarks. As a person of faith myself, I was reminded, I go to St. Mary's in Hales Quarters. I was reminded that this week is officially the week of prayer for Christian unity. So as I sat there kneeling in the pews praying, I found myself praying for the other children of God who were baptized with the waters and cleansed of original sin. These are the very people we're talking about here today. I was also struck by the fact that just 2 or 3 years ago, we were calling them essential workers. They were keeping us fed. They were caring for our elderly that were locked away in their high care homes, etc., and doing so much for us. So just to put things in perspective. I also want to, I think she just gave me, yes, newly sworn in State Representative Priscilla Prado, thank you so much for joining us here today. Okay. So thank you. Back to my remarks. As you heard, there's a tremendous amount of concern here in our immigrant and Latino community. And not just from the individuals who are undocumented, but from their extended family, from their friends, their neighbors, their parishioners, their coworkers, and in many cases even their employers. Concern for the child who might find themselves walking out in the school pickup line and waiting while all the other children are picked up by the parents and taken home, only to see a teacher in tears walk up to them and say that their parents will not be coming. For the mother who may be working a job and given the current circumstances is approached by her supervisor and employer and is told that she must conduct certain immoral and dehumanizing acts for that individual if they not only wish to keep their job, but keep them from calling immigration officers. Or to the father who answers the door to find their landlord suddenly demand a dramatic increase in rent, or that call once again to immigration will be placed. These are not over-dramatizations of what we're looking at. These are things that have happened in the past, and these are things that we know will happen now. So we're asking for the public, Keep your eyes open. If you see somebody in a position of authority exploiting someone, please give us a call. 833-LATINO-1, and that's a no, not a 0 on the end. Give us a call so that we can intervene. We are continuing to take calls from victims of hate crimes. We're not able to report them, most of them at the request of the victims, but they are happening. Once again, we're seeing an uptick in bullying and beating of students in schools. Not because of their immigration status, but because they have prominent Hispanic features or a Hispanic surname. These are all things that are happening. And while they're moving, I have to tell you, the most gut-wrenching part is when we get the calls at the office. From children asking us if their parents are going to be taken away. And then we get the calls from the parents saying, what can I do to make sure my children are protected? The overwhelming, you've heard it here today, the overwhelming number of immigrants here want nothing more than to be able to raise a family, work for their family, provide for their family in a safe environment, regardless of all the disingenuous statements you're hearing from others at this time. Once again, if you witness any acts of exploitation or hate, please call us at For Latino. For those parents who've been asking what they can do to minimize the risk to the family, we have put together one-page toolkits in English and Spanish that detail preventative measures you can take to minimize the impact of family separation. From finding a licensed immigration attorney now in advance, it's the most important thing you can do for your family. And I remind people, make sure they are licensed. And for those folks who might not know the difference, notary publics, or notarios as they're known here, in a lot of other countries have immigration law training. That is not the case in the United States. Make sure you go to a licensed U.S. immigration attorney for assistance. Not only will they review your rights with you, but they can help you put together a power of attorney so that if the worst should come to pass, someone who you know, who you love, who you trust, will be able to take care of your children. It also includes information on how you could find a loved one if you fear they've been detained. Those are always very difficult calls for us to get. My husband hasn't come home. My father hasn't come home. We think they may have him. Where can we look? All that information is in this toolkit. You can download it at www.forlatino.org. You can get this at www.forlatinoespanol.org, free of charge. Lastly, like many here, we've been working with a lot of other government agencies at the local, particularly at the local level, and this will vary by municipality and county. So what I'm about to say here applies to Milwaukee. If you're a victim of a crime or you witness a crime, call 911. You are safe here in the city of Milwaukee. If your house is on fire or if your neighbor's house is on fire, call 911. You are safe here in the city of Milwaukee. If you are suffering a medical emergency, call 911. We've been working with all of the major healthcare providers here. You are safe. Get that assistance that you need. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and providing support. Oh, yes, we do have Lourdes Castillo, a former Teacher of the Year for the state of Wisconsin, who's going to make some very brief remarks.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. We're all pulling it down. Okay. My experience as a principal and a teacher in a school, when they had the raids
in the workplaces, in the churches, not in the schools because it was not allowed. But the children were left alone in the schools. We had no way of getting in contact with parents to come and pick them up. We didn't know where the parents were. We had no idea what to do. The parents were taken from their places of work because there were raids. We tried to contact the parents. Obviously, there were no cell phones at that time. We tried to call them at home. We had no idea what had happened. Many times I had to take children with me at home because there was no place to leave them. I just hope that this does not happen again. It is an awful experience to any child to have to go through that. It is not their fault. And these children were born in the United States. And they are, and they were citizens. However, the parents were taken away. Sometimes we had a neighbor or a relative that would come and claim them, but we had no idea. We had to be safe to release the children that were left at school and they were alone. Because sometimes we didn't know their neighbors, we didn't know their friends, until the parents were able to call us because they were allowed to give them one phone call. It was a horrible situation. And I just hope and pray that this does not happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Otis. So once again, key takeaways from today. First off, we're asking everybody to remember we're talking about human beings, children of God here. So please, we ask all those to monitor and to regulate the extreme rhetoric that they're using. Number two, for people who are living in fear of being separated, families in fear of being separated, you have people here you can come to. You have access to resources. Please do not hesitate to contact us at Forward Latino or any of the other organizations that are here, or your local Milwaukee city officials. We are here to support you during these difficult times. With that, I'll go ahead and open up the floor to any questions from credentialed members of the media.
They've been positive. The chief certainly assured us that we have very strong standards of procedure in place, which leads me to be confident in sharing with the community that we want you to stay civically engaged. We want you to not hesitate to report crime, to call 911, to call non-emergency. I stand by those statements, and I stand by them because the chief made those statements directly to me. And I don't know if President Perez wants to add.
Exactly. We checked in. We made sure that the SOP was thorough and it provided protections. And most importantly, we want people not to stop calling the police department. They're a victim of crime, witness crime, keep our neighborhood safe because of what happened on Monday.
And this might be for you, Daryl. The Trump administration says they're first targeting people in this country illegally with criminal records, but they also say if a person that is also here illegally, maybe that's not a criminal, is with one of those people, they will be forcing them to leave the country as well. I mean, just kind of explain, what you're hearing from people in the community in regards to that.
I'll share with you, the question was that public messaging is putting out there by the administration. They're only going to be targeting criminals, immigrants, but they may wind up picking up, and I think the term they're using is collateral, other individuals that are with them. I'll share with you that we heard like statements during this administration's previous administration, and they were just going after everyone. So we have very little faith in that, and that's why there's just so much concern in the community. We have been as well engaging with a number of different police departments and fire departments in speaking with Chief Norman. I know his number one concern is public safety. And public safety isn't well served if you have a whole demographic or a whole percentage of the population not willing to call and report crime. So that was his number one concern, and that's why people should be safe or feel safe in calling the Milwaukee Police Department should they witness anything or suffer anything.
Well, as in my Spanish remarks, I basically was telling the community that it is extremely important to know their rights. That's the key. Knowledge is power. So be prepared. And I think that it could go to schools, it could be to churches, but the key right now is being prepared. Having a document who's going to be taking care of the children, because we don't know. They could go in and raid a church, but we're praying so that God, this administration has stated that they are an administration of faith. So we are going to continue with that message because Jesus Christ's teaching is to love your neighbor like you love yourself. And if you're going to go to the house of the Lord to destroy that space, then you are not really following what you're saying you're following.
What are educators or what is the school doing? Do they have a plan? It involves kids, so I'm just wondering how we're going to go about that.
Elsher, I've been in frequent contact with Interim Superintendent of MPS, Eduardo Golan, and we've discussed it, and we're comfortable that the children who are attending MPS schools will be cared for and taken care of. They're taking additional measures to make that's the case, and I think that's all I'm willing to say. Anything else, you should probably contact MPS.
I have a question for Mr. Thompson and maybe Mr. Ramon. The birthright citizenship, it's obviously going to be working its way through the courts. However, it's supposed to go into effect in about 30 days. So for children that are born in this country next 30 days, they're not. I mean, what are they supposed to do as far as their birth certificates? I mean, it seems like this could be kind of a lot of challenges.
There's certainly going to be a lot of challenges. I think our governor, Tony Evers, and our Attorney General, Josh Call, filed that lawsuit on behalf of all these folks that are going to be born. Look, the Constitution is what it says. If you're born here, you're a citizen. If we all don't believe that and support it and fight for it, somebody could rewrite that, right? It only takes, right, 6 people, 5 people, frankly, to rewrite that. So that is why it is a major, major battle. Good. I think that if you're pregnant and you have a baby tomorrow in the United States, you're a citizen. I was born in Blair, Nebraska. I'm a citizen. Everybody that's a citizen better start thinking about this, because if they can rewrite that, they can rewrite you.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Everyone who's standing behind me today, here right now, will be available for any questions or interviews you'd like to do. Thank you all once again for coming out and covering this very, very important issue. Thank you, and God bless.